Hi, and welcome to another episode of InstaVision. I'm Glenn Reynolds. Well, today we're joined by a blogger extraordinaire. It's Andrew Malcolm. He blogs for Investors Business Daily after accomplishing the almost impossible of making the LA Times interesting for a while. I guess that had to end, right? And so you moved on. How are you liking it in your new digs?
Oh, I just love it. I just love it. Total independence. I can write about whatever I want to write about. And of course, I've been at the rodeo a few times, so I know to write appropriately. But we do have fun. It's obviously a conservative place, but it's an honor to be there. The editorial page, I think, is the best in the country. They write about things and say things that others are afraid to. And I can say that because I'm not on the editorial page. But so the question is just building up the readership, bringing them over from the LA Times. And I'm having a good time doing that. This election is a lot more interesting than I anticipated it to be.
Isn't it, though?
It is.
In fact, before the debate last week, I sat down to the debate, and honestly, I was like, oh, God, do I have to watch this debate?
Exactly.
And then I was like, yes, I have to watch a debate because I'm going to be on Alexis Garcia's show tomorrow talking about the debates. I have to watch it. I can't cheat. So I sat down to watch it, and after a few minutes, I was like, I'm glad I watched this debate. So Romney got a good bounce out of it, or was it more than a bounce? Is this a structural change in his situation?
Well, we'll see. Every challenger gets a boost by being simply on the same stage as an incumbent. So you would expect that. But the incumbent almost wasn't there. He had no ripostes for Romney. Romney was, time after time, he was forceful. Now, he looked good in the debates, the 22 Republican debates, I thought. Of course, he'd been through it in '08, but so had Obama. And these things you think of as being pressure-filled. But my experience in politics, surprisingly enough, is that the wives are the most nervous. The guys in the debate, they actually like it. They're like the racehorses when they put them in the gate. They almost want to get going. And Romney, judging by some of the background I've been reading, he was so prepared. He was like a chief executive. So he looked ready to be president, and that's the goal. Right. Except he also hit it out of the park.
Yeah, that's interesting. In fact, I heard that Rush Limbaugh, I didn't hear it myself, but I heard about it, that Rush Limbaugh was quoting Ann Althouse on this. And Ann Althouse said, the reason why everybody keeps going on talking about how bad Obama was in the debate is that the sort of Democratic pundits have decided that storyline, even though it's bad for Obama, is better than the other storyline, which is how great Romney was.
That's exactly right.
That in fact, Obama did an okay job, but that Romney just hit it out of the park.
Exactly. Obama was Obama. And Charles Krauthammer said it wasn't a bad day, it's him. He is in over his depth. He didn't know the subject, and Romney was so briefed and so prepared that when Obama referred generically to labor training programs, Romney was right on top of it. There are 47, sir, in 8 different agencies, and we can't have that. The overhead is killing us. He sounded like a businessman. Now, the first debate is the most important. Obviously, there's 2 more with the president, and we'll see if he can continue it. But the second and third, people will be looking to confirm what they saw in the first. So it'll have to be a really bad debate for Romney to lose.
Now, the always excitable Andrew Sullivan certainly had a meltdown over this. In fact, the folks at BuzzFeed had fun with these GIFs and things of him, his appearances on this. Now, Andrew's always excitable, and he's also occasionally correct. Was he both here, or?
Well, when you deify somebody and then they turn out to be human, which all these politicians are, it's a shock. And they have invested so much in this guy, starting in '07, that, he was the second coming. He was very special. He was the one. He's been drawing on that credit for a long time. And I think perhaps, unfortunately for him, the credit is running out. There's a lot of people with sticker shock, people who genuinely voted for him in the hope. They didn't know much about him, but they did hope for the change. But he didn't come through. And it's not like there's a half a record that he can argue about. There's a 0 record. And Romney nailed it a couple of times, and you could see how well prepared Romney was. A couple of times he said, well, Mr. President, you've been president for 4 years. You've been president for 4 years, in case you weren't listening. And he made that point. Yeah. And the other one I loved was when Obama kept saying about his $5 trillion tax increase. And Romney said, well, you can keep saying that all you want, but that's not what I have in mind. And Mr. President, I've got 5 boys. And I'm very familiar with people saying things over and over again, hoping that I'll believe them. Now, what he did, which was very clever there, was one, he identified with everybody who's got a kid who comes in and, can we go to Disneyland? Can we go to Disneyland? Can we go to Disneyland? So he identified with them. At the same time, he put the president down as if he was a teenager wheedling about something, but he did it respectfully, which is the challenge. You know, he always had a half a smile on Romney. I couldn't imagine how he could do better in that first one.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people like to quote Margaret Thatcher, where she said about socialism that sooner or later you run out of other people's money. With Obamaism, maybe it's that sooner or later you run out of other people's credulity. You know, they just won't believe it anymore.
No, exactly
you
right.
can peddle the same lie, but the checks don't clear. So what's Obama's biggest problem? Is it in fact that he's got a pretty crappy record and he can't just run on sort of unfocused hope and change now?
Well, that was a problem that a lot of people saw. Now I think even more people see that. But he's got clay feet now. I mean, he lost it. He didn't just lose it, he lost it big. And so now he looks vulnerable. And we had a challenger that a lot of people, you know, it was the first time a lot of people saw Romney for more than 3, 4, 5 seconds.
See, my wife gave me an I told you so on this, because back in the 2008 campaign, when she and I had a podcast, we interviewed Romney twice, actually. And she thinks he's really strong. And I kept saying, Romney, whatever. And she was like, no, Romney's great. You'll see. And so now she's like, I told you so. I told you so. And I'm like, yes, dear, you're right.
And now the need is for a real chief executive. We've had 4 years of golfing and fundraising and flying 747s to see Beyonce. And so we haven't really had one. And Americans like chief executives. They like governors. You know, 4 of the last 6 presidents have been governors, and 1 was a sitting vice president who ran the CIA. Right. So you 5 out of 6 have been executives.
And how's that 6th one working out for us? Well, let me shift actually. Let me go off script a little bit for the debates, the vice presidential debates. I think Republicans are getting a little too cocky about that. They think they've got it in the bag. They think Paul Ryan is going to clean the floor up with Joe Biden. And, you know, objectively he should, because Paul Ryan is pretty smart and Joe Biden isn't. But are they getting too cocky? I mean, my sense is Biden, you know, may be a AAA ball player in the politics, but he's an experienced AAA ball player. And the more you build up Ryan, the more you build up expectations, especially at a vice presidential debate, the more you give the other side a chance to even underperform. It's almost the reverse Obama problem in a way.
Exactly. Well, 2/3 of Americans thought going in that Obama would clean Romney's clock. And so Romney doing well was magnified exponentially. This debate, well, vice presidential debates don't really matter. You remember the last one?
No, not really.
No, not really. Remember maybe that Biden's mixed up the executive power clause in the Constitution and that Sarah Palin winked. Other than that, it doesn't matter. But I think people will look at this one to confirm the first one. And the good news is the debate doesn't matter for vice presidents. The bad news is this is the greatest age disparity between vice presidential debaters that we've ever had. 42 for Ryan and 70 right after the election for Biden. Biden is a doofus. He's a joke. He's the crazy uncle in the attic. But the 42-year-old who's so energetic and so fit on TV that can come across a little bit harsh. You want to be, he needs to be respectful. And that's what I thought Romney did so well, was he always had a half smile and he was absolutely eviscerating the president. But you didn't think, oh, this guy's being mean.
Right.
And Ryan's got to be aware of that.
Well, that's going to be interesting to see. So what's Romney's biggest vulnerability?
Romney's?
Romney's.
Probably that it's late, I think. But Americans love underdogs. They really do. I mean, think of Boise State, right? I mean, it's just appealing. If Romney doesn't make any more mistakes, I think this could be like 1980 in the sense that people saw Reagan, who'd been portrayed as an actor and not that smart, but he looked presidential. And that was in that one debate, remember, Thursday before the election. And overnight, things turned. They were going to, Americans like to stick with the incumbent. And a little piece of history. If Obama wins a second term, this is the first time in 200 years that we've given 3 presidents in a row 2 terms each. So it's got a little bit of history going against them as well.
That's interesting. Well, it'll certainly be interesting to see. And, you know, I don't know, our own PJ Media's own Roger Kimball is predicting that it's going to be Romney and in a landslide. And to his credit, he's not just saying that now. He's been saying that since, I don't know, June or July or something.
Yeah.
What's your take?
I have been saying for a long time that it was either going to be a narrow Romney loss or a big Romney win. I hope whatever happens that it is decisive, so that we don't have this who stole the election kind of a thing, a kind of Chicago phenomenon. But I think he's got it going now, and we'll see if there's any tricks left. Remember, the next debate is at Town Hall on the 16th. That's foreign affairs. That should really hurt because there's not much of a record there, and we've got all this Benghazi stuff. As we talk today,
Romney's problem is that he doesn't have a foreign affairs record, and Obama's problem is that he does, right?
Exactly right, and all the cover-up is now coming out about Benghazi. So that'll be trouble. The town hall, some people say, is Obama's strength. I don't quite understand that. You're talking to the audience, but you really are talking to the other guy there. Then the last one is the same format on the 22nd as the first one, except it's a mix of domestic and foreign. So that should be interesting. I think, obviously, Obama will be much better prepared. I thought it was interesting the day of the debate when Obama went to the high altitude, you know, that affected him so much. Kerry, who had prepared him and played Romney, didn't go with him. He went straight back to Washington. And I remember thinking, well, that's kind of funny, but now we know why. No, seriously, I think he knew then from the preparation it wasn't going to be a good one, and he didn't want to be in the spin room having to explain what he did or didn't do.
Well, we'll be back and talk about it next week. This is Andrew Malcolm. He blogs for Investors Business Daily at investors.com/Andrew Malcolm. And we're just lucky to have him here with us.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
And we're lucky to have you here with us. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, have fun on the internet. Thanks.